Hey there, folks. I'm Isaac, and I have defeated Marune's Dagon.
And I'm Claire, and I'm always a rogue.
And this is
Make That Game, where we pitch the latest,
the greatest
new video game ideas
that won't ever get made. No, we don't make them. We just design them.
We do design them.
And we don't even really fully design them.
They're ideas.
We pitch them.
We live in the idea cloud.
I promise you, we do make 100-page design documents for each and every idea that we pitch on the show.
I don't think we should lie. So
everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, well,
come on, it's fun. It's fun to lie.
We need to be the podcast that the people can trust. If anyone, we're the most trustworthy.
A reliable news source for the latest video game ideas.
Yeah, that's us. So what we actually do, though, instead of report the news, is we pitch video game ideas back and forth to each other. Usually based on a theme these days.
Yeah, these days we have been doing a theme, and that theme was, remind me again?
Ice cream.
Oh, yes, of course. In my 100-page document here, it does say.
Yes, clearly you spent a lot of time and effort and brain power on that.
Yeah, as I always do.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, just to show us how it's done, how about you start with your ice cream game idea?
Sure.
How about you pitch that to me and the audience?
I will, yeah.
And we'll see if we buy.
Okay. It doesn't have a specific name.
Okay.
I didn't come up with that part.
Does it have like a general name?
No.
Oh.
But okay, my thinking is it's like kind of like a mix between Fallout and Subnautica. So like open world survival.
Okay.
Post-apocalyptic.
Okay.
And the resource is ice cream.
That is a very difficult resource.
Right. Well, that's the point, is because ice in a post-apocalyptic society is going to be almost impossible to come by.
Yeah.
So like most of the game is you're trying to like get the resources for ice to like reignite certain, defunct ice cream shops across the world.
Okay. So you're hunting ice? You're not hunting like electricity? Like you're not trying to connect
all of it.
So
you
like you have
resources.
to hook up the generator.
You need like clean water to make the ice.
Clean water.
You need cream.
So you need cows, post-apocalyptic cows.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic cows.
And so do you get like a scanner to like see how radioactive these post-apocalyptic beasties are?
Yeah, that's like the Fallout part.
So like the less tainted, the higher quality product you can make.
Right. But maybe you can get like special power-ups by doing like certain types of milk.
Oh.
You can hunt down rare ingredients.
Fire milk gives you firepower.
Something like that. Yeah, so again,
spicy ice cream.
It hasn't been like thoroughly researched, but you get the idea of what I'm going for.
Research in my video game? No.
But like there'll also be like things you have to battle,
Right. You have to fight the
You can like build
bulls.
a base and I do picture like you're moving through, you'll find almost like a Poke-Stop, like you'll find like an ice cream, like a defunct ice cream stand, and then you have to like build it up so you can explore the area and have like enough fuel, right, to live.
And then once you get it to a good state, you hire
to run it, and then you move on, and like each area would have like different challenges to build up the ice cream shop.
That gives you like a cool, like you can have a subsystem going on where like they'll send couriers to like deposit, like give you the money back, like they've been earning.
Oh, so you can like also become a franchise mogul.
Right, but those couriers could get waylaid by bandits. So then you have to like figure out how to keep your routes defended.
That seems really complicated, but sure.
It's easier than it sounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sure. But yeah, that's basically my game idea. I don't know. Is there anything else you need to know about it?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a pretty solid game idea.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's my post-apocalyptic ice cream adventure game. Not adventure game. Resource game. Survival game.
So, okay. All right. That means it's my turn to share with the class.
Yes, it is.
So, my game idea is heavily inspired by a game I've never played called Splatoon.
I mean, I've never played Fallout, so this is allowed.
Oh, okay. That's cheating. Okay. But, okay, so I know that the concept of Splatoon is that you're Squid Kids, and all your weapons are ink powered, and then you can use the ink to like change the level.
I think I see where this is going.
So this is a multiplayer first-person shooter game where at the beginning of each round, a giant ice cream scoop lands on the level, splatters around, and then you can use the ice cream as the weapon. Like, you can make ice cream snowballs. You can push it around to make forts. It melts over time as the temperature increases, which can make slippery surfaces, which can change how movement works. And yeah, in general, it's basically a first-person shooter, like multiplayer, like kind of game with the added flair of using this environmental thing that is ice cream to your advantage.
Okay.
And just for fun, the ice cream simulation, like the physics involved in the melting and the actual like pushing around and like shaping, is all going to be as realistic as performance allows.
Okay.
The most of the development power is going to go into the ice cream simulation.
Good.
For no real reason, but that is the important part. And so I think it would also be really funny if it was just like fully a first-person shooter where, yes, you can use ice cream balls as like weapons, like throw ice cream balls at people. But like otherwise, all of the first-person shooter guns are like normal, like pistol, rifle, shotgun,
and
assault
ice cream
machine weapon, whatever. Yeah, so it's like you're like real tactical, like
tactical.
Yeah, it's like mocking like tactical plus cool.
Well, no, I got that.
Okay,
but I've never heard of tactical before.
Oh, and it also works because ice cream is cool. So yeah, you'll be called tactical in the game. But yeah, you're like all these like tactical operators with like the bulletproof vests and the SWAT masks, and using like real world like hardcore technology, gun technology and stuff. But then it's just like the levels look like Kirby Dream Buffet levels.
Perfect. Perfect. You want to describe that for the listener in case they haven't played the very popular Kirby Dream Buffet?
Very bright, colorful,
giant pastries.
Like it is even more cartoonish than normal Kirby, I would say. Everything has like a fluffy quality. Everything looks a little bit like frosting.
I mean, some of it is frosting.
Yeah. And then on top of all that, you know, you just have a big scoop of ice cream just land. And just realized, bonus points for being the one to claim the cherry.
Ooh, just like Kirby's Dream Buffet.
Just like Kirby's Dream Buffet. So the ice cream scoop lands, and then there's a cherry on top, and then it splatters around at the beginning of the level, and then you're also fighting over holding the cherry at the end.
I love it.
Yeah.
$10 million.
Well, that's more than I need.
Oh, really? How much do you need?
$20.
Oh, okay. Well, that's easy.
And $10 million. No.
$10 million. $20. 10,000,000 is $20.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay, well, that's our game ideas. We're done.
10.00002.
That's two
million.
No, that's no,
I did that right. 10.00000 10.00002 million. Yes.
I'm
anyway,
not going to spend the mental time
corner.
doing that. What are we doing? We got a different corner to get to.
We have actually a very exciting discussion topic today because we have our very first guest on the podcast.
Yeah, we're opening new portals here.
Yep, definitely portals that we're opening. So today we have with us Matt Myre. He is the host of a real estate news show called The Bigger Pockets Daily, which does come out every day, which I think is incredible. And also the developer of an upcoming U.S. election simulator. Hello, Matt.
Hello. It's an honor to be here. I've always wanted to be on the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember driving home about 3 years ago from Virginia, and I listened to the show like back to back to back. So
wow.
Yeah, so really, really big honor for me.
And so 3 years ago, that would have been before we had the good mics too, so that's dedication.
That's true.
You know we struck lightning with that then.
Oh yeah, yeah, I
that's
do.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. Awesome. Well, tell us about your game, Matt.
Right. It's a US election simulator. Not the first of its kind, but the best of its kind. And it's basically a project I've wanted to work on at least for 3 years now, but never felt that I had the
Okay.
technical know-how or ability to do it. And it is essentially uh, a campaign map, so it's the US map, very basic there, but you go through the motions of a full-fledged political campaign. You play as a candidate, whether it's a custom candidate or a real-life candidate, and you go against the AI and you see if you can win at the end. And it's been really fun to work on. And it is probably the one game that I've always wanted to make, but we'll see how it actually comes out because, of
Yeah.
course, there's always the dissonance of, is this actually what I want it to be at the end, or am I like
Yeah.
way off the mark? And so I'm sure we can talk about some of the design problems and whatnot today that
Yeah.
I've already experienced, but that is basically what it is.
Well, I that just reminded me. This is a little irrelevant, but of a quote about filmmaking. That's like you make the same film over and over until you've made that film. It sounds like that's your game. That you got to make that game.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's I can't tell you how many times I thought about what this game should be
Yeah.
over several years. And it really starts with the fact that like I'm a like political elections are obviously they're very controversial, but like I love it for the game itself, like sport,
Hmm.
which is a weird way to put that.
Mm.
Every 4 years, it is like my World Cup. On election day, like I will be locked in from 6 to 2 a.m., however long it takes to call the election, and it's not because I have like a particular person I want to win or anything. I just love watching it happen,
Hmm.
and I will make starting about a year before a presidential election, and I do this with midterm elections as well, but specifically presidential elections, I will make statistical models using
Oh wow.
a variety of polling data, and I will collect that polling data throughout the year, so that's super, super accurate. And then I will also take past elections, compare and contrast to where we're at now, kind of analyze the situation in the country, where are the issues falling and whatnot, and I'll make these models. And I really like as of this last election realized that I need to do something with like a game because my algorithm that I programmed for this past election was accurate to it was only off by 0.7%.
Wow.
I predicted the
Oh,
final
geez.
outcome and I'm 3 for 4 on the last 4 elections in terms of getting the correct outcome.
Is that 0.7% accurate to the total results, or do
Yes.
you calculate by district or
So I do national polling and state polling. And the national
okay.
polling, I was correct. And by the way, this is not like the polls of like a snapshot in time, like a 48-48, because the final polls for this past election was 48-48. I'm
Hmm.
predicting the final outcome when everyone makes their
Hmm.
decision
Yeah.
and goes to the polls. And I was off. I underestimated or I overestimated Trump support by 0.6%, and I
Wow.
underestimated Harris support by 0.1%. And in statistics, that is as accurate as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and you're talking 150 million votes, in predicting it. So that was a national. Statewide, obviously it misses. There's 50 states, and most of them I'm not
Mhm.
paying attention to. I'm really pulling like the 10 battleground states.
Right. There's
Uh,
there's certain states that are more or less relevant than others, like
yeah,
important ones. Yeah.
yeah,
Battleground.
exactly.
You
And
you you use the term.
yeah, and so like I'll get like Pennsylvania is the top one that I'll look at, and it's very difficult to model Pennsylvania. I was correct on Pennsylvania by about I want to say I was off by about 0.2%. Uh,
Wow.
with North Carolina, where I live, I had it exactly right. Even though the polls were showing a tight race, I said, no way, it's going to be like a 4% gap, and it was. And then like New Hampshire, of all places, I can never get right. And so
New
when you
Hampshire's a
have
weird one.
it is because the swing, it doesn't take much to swing. It,
No.
it, it takes, 20,000 voters and you're looking at 8% gap. And so it's very difficult. But like statistical modeling being right for so long, after this election passed, I was like, I have to do something because clearly in my brain there's something where it's like I know how to
Yeah.
model something correctly on such a broad scale. And so I've basically for the last 2 months been reverse engineering everything I do in in a game form and making it interactable and playable. And that's basically what this game is.
Okay.
That's
Yeah. So
awesome.
speaking of the game, so what is let I think I can figure it out at a broad level, but what would you say like the gameplay loop of it is? Like player loads up the game for the first time, what are they gonna see? There's the US
Hmm.
map, state by state, I assume.
Yep.
Does it go so this is the same question again basically, but is it like a state by state map or does it go down into like districts, counties, et cetera, et cetera?
It
Like do
will at
you have
some
a
point.
zoom level?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So
There
that's
will
planned.
the iterations for this is a basic one-on-one election, so like Republican versus Democrat, and then I'm going to add
Hmm.
independents so that there's a little bit more
Hmm.
variety, and then eventually I'm going to add district data, so county data would be the specific. I don't think
Hmm.
I want to go into like zip code, and that's like way too
No.
crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
So like county data, and then I'll do like midterms, and then I'll do maybe even specific gubernatorial elections and whatnot. And then I want to do other countries. So this is going to be the
Oh.
name of the game that I have in mind. It's not listed yet. It's not ready yet, but it's going to be called the Electorate, which is just a broad
Okay.
term for
TM
the
TM TM.
yeah, the voters of
Hmm.
an election. And so therefore I could do a UK election, I can do a German election, and go on and so forth. And so uh and I've done some analytics and looking at some of the competitors in the space, and believe it or not, some of these US politics election games, only half of the people that play them are American. The other
Really?
half, yes, the other half are from Britain, they're from France, or from all these different places. And I'm like, that's crazy to me because I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
like why would you show any interest in the US election? And then I think about like one, we have such a unique system. We have electoral votes,
Hmm.
electoral college, all that. And so that's
Hmm.
interesting. Obviously, the president is like the figurehead of the world. And then there's the added fact that it's so controversial all the time that it really
Especially
creates this
lately.
yeah, it really creates this awesome binary system with having a two-party system. As good or bad that is, anyone can make that argument, but for a game it's
I was gonna
incredibly
say, like,
Yeah.
it is when
yeah.
you did the sports analysis, like that really is what drives it, is it's like team one and team
Oh,
two. It's like very
100%.
unique, like,
Yeah.
and it does create this like tension that is, I think, very, yeah, gamified, and for better or for worse. So
Yeah, 100%. So it makes for a wonderful gameplay loop. In terms of your gameplay loop, what you're asking, you load up your country, the country, should I say, and you have states are all set to sort of their baseline party splits. So every state is going to have a base for who they're going to vote for. And
Yeah.
then there's about 15, depending on the state. So let's just take a battleground state, for example. There's going to be about 20% of the vote up to win. So say you start at like 40-40, you got to get to 50.
Yeah.
And you as the candidate, this was a big concept to think about. Should it be real time or should it be turn based? Now, most of these games that are election simulators, there are some of them. There's like three or four off the top of my head that I can say, but they are usually turn based. And there's one mobile game that is real time, and that one is
Uh,
very chaotic. It's fun, it's engaging, but it's very mobile. And I felt like that would not be the best for sitting down and thinking about what you're trying to do, because I want this to be a
hmm.
hmm.
very like strategic, think about the data here and whatnot. So I'm doing a turn-based game. Each turn is a week. So it will start
Okay.
from a certain point, what you pick, if you want to play 21 turns for a quick game, 52 for a whole year. Uh, and then eventually we're going to have primaries so that you can start a candidate early on and run them through the primary. And if you win, you move on to the general election. But you play your turns. Each turn, you load up a set of campaign activities. So you can run ads. You have, campaign funds, so you can run ads. You can rally at different places. You can make a speech about an issue. So, like, here's my big economic speech. And all of these various activities that you can do, get endorsements, whatnot, they modify certain abilities that you have. So every candidate comes with a set of traits or abilities or attributes that impact your favorability rating, impact your ability to get certain votes, and that sort of rolls up over time. And meanwhile, the AI is also competing with you. And so the
Hmm.
AI is running the same activity set. They're going after the same states. They're focusing on the battlegrounds. They're trying to smear you, do all these things. And certain campaign activities you have can backfire. So you'll lose votes. So if you make a speech on economics, doesn't mean you're actually going to get votes. You might actually lose votes, right? And once again, AI is doing all the same stuff. So at the end of this, you're going to have a like election sim where it's going to go into a whole different sort of screen, and you're going to have states report their data as if you were watching on election night.
I could see
That's
this being
that's
very
cool. Yeah.
tense. Like this
Yeah.
this is the big moment of the game, it feels
I
like.
can
Yeah.
also see this being really fun to stream.
Yeah.
Let's watch the election results
Yeah.
roll out of my, current
Yeah.
run of this game.
Yeah, and everything, is like the times are going to be accurate to actual. So it's going to be a running clock, and it's like at 6:30,
Hmm.
Kentucky, Indiana's going to come out, and you're
Oh,
going to
that's
be able to
awesome.
you're going to be able to click on these states. It's going to say like how many votes are in. And by the way, all of this is pre-calculated at the end of your last term. So like the game will know who's the winner, but it's
Hmm.
just going to simulate up to that number in a really
Right.
dramatic fashion. Uh, and so have
Are
I
you gonna have
started?
a skip button for the impatient people, or are you gonna
Yes,
force
yeah,
them to sit?
you have
Okay.
to. Yeah, there's going to be a
Yeah.
fast forward. There's going to be a slow down if you really
Okay.
want to, and then they, of course, skip to the result, and then you'll just get a result. And there is a future version of this game where I would really, really, really love to have carryover elections to where if you pick, say, you pick like I don't know, like JD Vance, and you win, you can carry over that candidate to the next election you play,
Oh.
That
and
would
Hmm.
you'll
be
have
awesome.
yeah, you'll have a new stat that says approval rating instead of your like favorability, and that factors into it. And I
Yeah.
want to make it like a dynamic world where each election kind of tags on to the last one. That I still haven't worked out how that will look, because at that point you're like, okay, well, how do I get to play as the president during the thing? And I don't have any plans for doing that.
Hmm.
But
Okay. So no presidential simulation, just
no,
election.
that
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
such a big thing. And
Yeah.
there's a game called The Political Process, which I think is the best at all of this. And that is a game where you pick your candidate and you can play in any type of election and you can be the actual politician. Uh, the thing about this game is that the UI is very old looking. Like it's a very, very, very basic UI. It's all 2D.
Hmm.
It's all text. And
Mhm.
as much as I love the game, I do think I can make a much more accessible version of this, while also having the same sort of depth to it.
Hmm.
And really, really focusing on the election part, because I think there are things that are overlooked. But also there's a game like The Political Machine, which is sort of like the first version of an election game. They've been doing it since like '08. And that is too, for lack of a better term, dumbed down for someone like me, because it's just so basic. It's like click here, run rally, you have 5% more, and then go to the next
Yeah.
state. And it's like over and over again. You're sort of like, and it's like I've seen Nebraska like vote for a different party in that game, and I'm like, that's just not like everything
That's
will work out the way it's supposed to in like a normal election map, and then like
Hmm.
Nebraska's blue. I'm like, this is just terrible. Like that would never happen. And
Yeah.
so it's stuff like that that I want to make sure I want to make sure that's not happening.
Yeah.
right.
So you talked a little about doing audience research when you're talking about, I guess, seeing other games like the one you're developing and who's playing them, and also you just talked about accessibility. So like, how easy is it to use? How fun is it? So what's kind of your balance there between, you've talked a lot about very detailed statistics and analytics, and then also trying to make this more like easy to play, basically for the average person. So I'm curious
Yeah.
how you're balancing those things.
It's difficult. I think presentation matters a lot. So one of the issues with some of the games so for example, The Political Process, is that finding the information is too difficult. So like you
Mm.
can have incredible depth in a game, and have a UI that presents that information very fluidly. And that's what I'm going for. I think you run into the issue where you have so much data on the back end that makes the game much better, but when you're not allowing users to actually see that in a good way. So, like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
when I click on the state of Florida, I want a high level view of everything that's happening. I want to know the polling percentages. I want to know how many electoral votes it has, its population, registered voters, the turnout, whatever, like whatever is important to that state, how the issues are swaying. And then if I want more information to make better decisions, I should be able to calculate or rather click into that state and see a whole, like essentially a spreadsheet of everything that is actually going on, how certain
Mm-hmm.
voter blocks are spreading and whatnot. And the point is that giving the user the ability to see high level and low level information, depending on what they want at that particular moment, is sort of the goal here. Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, there's a ton of information going on in the background, and I have like 100 equations running on every turn. I don't expect them to calculate all of that in one shot. I'm also using sort of the paradox model here. So like games like Crusader Kings, Europa Universalis, all that. They
The best
they
games.
they are the best games, 100%, and I'm very excited for EU5 to come out. But uh like Hearts of Iron, I think does a really good job at this, where Hearts of Iron 4 specifically, if you ever played Hearts of Iron 3, Hearts of Iron 3 is one of the hardest games I've ever played because it's so manual. All of the stats are thrown at your face. You have like a single carrier has like 25 different stats.
I
And
think that's the one that I tried to play, and
mhm,
I never played a Hearts of Iron again. I stuck to
yes.
Crusader Kings.
Well, Hearts of Iron 4 fixed all of that by
Okay.
yes, dumbing it down, so to speak, but the information you is there, it just doesn't throw itself at you unless you really want it, right? And
Mm.
so it's stuff like that where it's like those carrier stats are still there, but they're not the first thing you see. You can move your carrier without caring about what stats it has. And if you really, really, really want to get tactical and see what your carrier says, you can look at it. And then you can modify it even if you want to, which is a great addition, by the way. But
Oh
the
wow.
the the point is that I don't want to throw everything at everyone. And the UI, I'm actually working on the UI right now, and the UI is becoming very challenging to work on because uh it's a matter of finding that balance and also making it look good, right? Because I don't think anything's worse than an ugly UI. It really,
Right.
really is hard to look at bad UI.
It's like the number one, like the first thing that you see when you're starting a game is the UI, and it sticks with you pretty much the entire time. So like it has to make a good impression, like first impression, and throughout the entire game, you can't ever get sick of seeing it. You know, it can't be
Yeah.
grating on the
Mm-hmm.
eyes.
Yeah, and I think especially as an indie game with not a budget,
Mm-hmm.
there's like no budget for this game. There's like maybe $200 I'll spend on a kit from this Fab store or whatever. Uh, that I feel like the UI goes a long way in presenting sort of the branding of the game, in the sense that if you have a really nice UI, people will perceive your game, even if you did it by yourself, as if 10 people worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that does a lot because I think when people I know that people love like a solo developer who's really good, but also
Mm-hmm.
people really like their big gaming companies who and the
For
expectations are high,
sure.
and they feel like, okay, I this company might be able to produce more work for me because obviously with solo development there's limitations on how much you can actually do. So yes, they expect more, but then they're more willing to engage in some ways. And I feel like getting UI right is like having a very small company but like a world-class website. And when people land on that website, they're like, "Oh, this person is clearly very successful. This company is very
Yeah,
successful."
they
Like
know what they're doing.
yeah, exactly. They have a nice website, so they know what they're doing.
Just
I'm a web designer by trade, and I have a background
yeah.
there, and so
Yeah.
I'm well aware of like how a company can improve their positioning as a just as a brand if they just have a nice website. And
Yeah,
so
100%.
it's such a big deal for me to get this UI right, and it's really it's really been a challenge. I'll be honest with you.
So I know it seems like it's a work in progress, but it sounds like you're going to use a lot of like kind of drilling down kind of menus, like click on a state and it'll give you like a high level overview of like the most important stuff of the state, and then like 3 or 4 clicks down is where you'll get to like the turnout percentages. I'm just making things up here, but in my head, turnout percentages are like a mostly unchanging thing that isn't super relevant most of the time, but it, like, if you want to see it, you can look at it. I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah, I say turnout because I'm still working on the turnout sort of algorithm, but turnout, I'll be honest, probably might not even make it into the game
Oh, okay.
because yeah, because it's
Is that
really
just unpredictable?
it's an end of election stat.
Oh,
Like
okay.
even in real life, you don't calculate turnout until the end. Like it's really just a
Mm-hmm.
percentage of the electorate that showed up, and you can't really calculate that before the election ends. And I think it breaks the immersion if you do have a turnout percentage. But if what you're
Fair.
asking is sort of, am I hiding? Like, what are the types of stats that I'm hiding? Is that sort of the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not very clear sometimes.
No, it's okay. No. What I would say is anything that feels like it has to be displayed with other statistics needs to be lower level. So when I say that,
Oh,
I
that's
mean
a
like,
good thought
yeah,
process.
yeah. What I mean by that is if you have a certain demographic voting on an issue in a certain way, then you should see that with the other demographics voting on an issue in a certain way. And you don't want to see
Hmm.
that all on the same screen, in the sense of with your high level stats. So there needs to be a second sort of UI menu that pops up to show that. There's also going to be graphs of polls over time. Like that stuff is
Yep.
not, you have to click in to find that. There's going to be a national poll, and then you'll have your state by state polls. And then there's going to be a pollster system that like there's multiple pollsters in the
Mm-hmm.
game, and they're either
Oh.
incredibly correct or incredibly wrong. And you have to sort of shift through that data, trying to figure out
So,
like who's right.
are you going to invent pollsters, or is it
Mhm.
going to be kind of like real life where are you going to have like the real life pollsters, maybe under a different name, but like someone who's astute will be able to see and be like, oh, that's
Yeah.
this group, which I
Yeah.
know in real life is like super biased in one direction or
It will
whatever.
be a play on names for sure. I can't just
Okay.
Okay.
outright I
Right.
can't like I
Back
can't
down.
like can't be like Quinnipiac is off by 10% every election, which they are. But the it will be a play on names, and I am adding a so 538 is a I don't know if you've ever been to that website. It's down
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
now.
was thinking about that one. Oh,
Yeah,
is
so
it down?
yeah, ABC
Oh.
took it down.
Oh, wow.
Gotta love them. They used to have a pollster rating with like an A grade or B grade. And
Hmm.
ironically, they were always incorrect. But uh, the I'm going to have sort of a 538 called 270 in the game, and
I like
270
that.
is going to give pollsters ratings, and you're going to see all of that information. So basically, there's going to be a screen where you can see like 270 is the website that you're on. Here are all the polls coming out, and here's sort of the ratings, and you have to sift through that. And I don't know if it's going to be dynamic. So it's like with my example of like carryover elections, like if the pollster was correct in the last election, will they be correct in the next one? And will they have a higher rating? I don't know if
Hmm.
that might be too much, but basically everyone's going to have a grade, and there, there's going to be a program or an algorithm in there that basically gets a range of what the actual poll is because the game will always know what your actual vote total is.
Hmm.
It just might not display that to you. And
Right,
so,
because that would spoil the fun.
yeah, exactly. And so the polls are going to have a range that they're going to calculate, and you're going to take the average of that every turn, and that will be your polling percentage. So that creates
Okay.
one tremendous variability, which you always see in elections. There's always an up and down for no reason, uh, every single day. Like a guy will be up 2 tomorrow, but then the next day will be down 5. And it's like, why is that possible? And so we're gonna have a moving average like that, and having those ratings will give the player an indication on like how how much does this actually matter to them, and should they take this with a grain of salt? And that doesn't mean that if you have a C minus grade, you're going to be wrong. There's a possibility you might be completely accurate. Uh, it just depends on what day it is.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've got a lot of this at least planned out, if not programmed out. What do you think is your timeline runway for this being a playable demo or
Yeah.
a full game?
I I want to say it will be ready for. I'm probably going to take this early access, but
Hmm.
I would say October is my target
Oh, wow.
Of this
Of
year?
this
because
year?
with of this year, yes.
Wow.
But I've made tremendous progress up to this point. Like we're getting
Awesome.
really like I would say within a month it will have like a full-fledged playable loop where you can play through a whole election. Um,
Wow.
the additional layers on top, like the pollsters and stuff, will have to come. But the 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 UI will probably be the biggest challenge, just getting it right. And so
Yeah.
I imagine that the actual groundwork for how information is calculated, how states get their polls, does how the states change their color, the game map's already set. Might need a few tweaks here and there and make it a little bit better, but for the most part, the game map is set. It's been pretty much the first thing I did. Uh,
Yeah.
the candidates, they're, obviously I'm testing with like Trump Harris right now, but obviously candidates will be very easy to iterate over time. It's with the way I've structured sort of the development patterns, there's a lot of inheritance happening. So like you have this parent sort of code block, and then that will feed into the children, and each child is a
Oh,
candidate. I know that's a weird way to put it, but
yeah.
it's basically what it is. And so uh basically everything is going to like most of the bottom layer stuff is done. And there's even logic, like the ad system is created. Like you can now run ads and it will check to see what party you're with. So that will depend, and that will determine what like numbers change. And it will also check and store that information in an array. And that will run after a certain amount of turns, and then it will delete after that. So like everything is like the game is there, right? It's
Mhm.
just a
Hmm.
matter of
Yeah.
adding these layers. I think by October, it will definitely be in the state where you could play it in early access. I would like, I mean, I'm pushing for October because the uh elections are in November, so the Virginia and the New Jersey governorship elections.
Yep.
And so
Hmm.
I want to get in that like sort
There'll
of
be
hype
buzz.
stage. Yeah,
Yeah.
there'll be budge, especially by the midterms next year though. Uh,
Yes.
and so that is sort of what I'm going for. Um, we'll see, but I think we're very, very, very close. And I'm very excited to finally put it out.
So, all right, we've talked a lot about it, but I did want to hone in on a few specific things that came up, like as you were talking, and I didn't feel like I had the chance to like intercede because you were saying so much interesting stuff. But like drilling into some of the gameplay things that you've talked about. So you said each turn is a week, and I'm thinking about that. A lot can happen in an election in a week, right? Like you can have
Yeah.
multiple rallies going on. Like so much can happen. Is there a specific reason that you chose a week as a turn as opposed to a day, like for playability concerns, or with your models does like really just like a week is like the minimum unit that actually matters, and day by day isn't that important? Like what's the thought process for a week long turn?
I think I think part of it, which is it's a great question. Part of it is at some point, like you're going to be bored if it was day by day. I mean, you're talking
That's true.
somewhere around 200 turns, right? Like this is
Right.
not total war. It's like you're not going to be able to like, have a battle and stuff like that. Like if you're playing
Right.
a total war game, like I can go 200 turns an hour, civilization. But in an election where you're essentially trying to make state numbers change every week, 200 turns is far too many. And so if I were to go by a day, that would be too much. And then there's also the fact that in the broader sort of gameplay system, honestly, from a performance standpoint, when you're constantly calculating things and storing a lot of that information in a data set so that you can reference it for historical purposes. So, for example, the polls, are going to be calculating throughout the game, the more information you have there. I mean, you're talking anywhere from like, 3 to 7 pollsters per day at that point, recalculating a new poll,
Yeah,
pushing something out. You're talking a lot of information that's getting stored, and I would fear that would bog down the
Mm-hmm.
system.
that makes
Um,
sense.
but to also explain that from a gameplay perspective too, on how I'm fixing that, it's sort of you're going to I think, and I say I think because I don't quite know if I'm going to or not, but I'm going to make it to where it's a calendar. So you can see your week's worth of activities, and you can pick like on Monday, I'm going to rally in Pennsylvania. On Tuesday, I'm going to hold a fundraiser in North Carolina. On Wednesday, I'm going to run an ad, and that ad will last until, the end of the week or whatever for four days, or 4 turns, whatever. I mean, I'm doing a lot of research on ad buying right now. Luckily, all that information is public because it has to be, and for campaign finance reasons. And so I'm looking into
Yep.
how these campaigns actually buy ads. How much do they cost? How long do they last? Can they pull them? So there's going to be a situation where it's like you can pull an ad because some controversy occurred, which we didn't even talk about, but there will be a random event system.
I was
Oh,
about that. So the calendar, like the thing that you were just describing about like rally on Monday, ads on Tuesday through Wednesday, whatever. I was about to ask that, and I was also about to ask the random event system, if any. And so this is perfect. You're
There
asking
will
my questions
be,
for me.
yeah. I plan to have at least 200 at launch unique random events. Uh, and the, I don't know what they're going to be, right? They could be a
Random billionaire
variety,
joins your campaign
right? They could be,
in
yeah, they could.
Pennsylvania.
There's a possible, like attempted assassination thing. Like there's
Ooh, yeah.
a bunch of things, or even an actual assassination, and then you have to change your character, which would be crazy. I don't
Very
have any
Crusader
plans for that
Kings.
yet. Yes, very, very much. And so I want to be edgy because I want this to be a really good game
mhm.
Right.
and accurate, right? And these things happen. Like look at RFK in 1968.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, like these things happen. Uh the the random event system, so the ads I say I've done the ad system. I have the groundwork for all of this stuff laid out, but there will be plenty of iterations because the ad system, you will be able to run one, you'll be able to run national or state ads, and then you'll be able to run attack ads or pro you ads.
Ooh.
And these ads will either be based on an issue, on your candidate's attributes, or on a random event that has occurred. And
Hmm.
so, for example, if a hurricane hits
Mm-hmm.
certain states, so like I live in North Carolina, Asheville was I used to live in Asheville, but and my parents are there. Asheville was devastated, and that became a huge campaign issue because you had all the controversy with FEMA. You had the fact that,
Yep.
the state felt like it had no money, and then they were saying the FEMA budget's out, and that became a huge campaign issue. And then obviously you're having Trump is flying down to Asheville and he's walking through the flood. And so like that stuff is all part of the campaign. And so you can run ads based on that. And that could be a huge boon to your election, or it could actually backfire and make you look like a scumbag.
Yeah.
And so and so all of these things are going to be possible. There's going to be about 200 random events and at launch. They can happen at any moment. Uh Obviously some of the bigger ones like a hurricane's not going to happen twice. So certain things will have like logic there to where they can't fire more than one time.
Makes sense.
Um but uh what was the original question? I completely forget. It was
So I had initially asked about the turn being a week long,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah, right, right.
we were talking about the random events, so I
right,
think that
then
answers
yeah, we've
that. Yeah.
transitioned into the random events
Right.
themselves.
I was curious about like how often are you going to have to update all of your models, because I assume you want this to reflect like the current political structure.
Right.
Yeah, so just curious about that.
I will be so this the current version of the game will be
Yeah.
based on 2024 numbers.
Okay.
That does not mean that you can't win as a Democrat. It just means that the electorate, which is a great reason for why this game is called the Electorate, the electorate will be reflected based on like today's demographics.
Yep.
Okay.
And but there will be a 2020 scenario at some point. I'm going to add scenarios so where you can basically change the underlying statistics for the election to like
That's cool.
1960 if you really want to.
Another question I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
Well, that was the question.
No,
I
that
think,
I was
yeah.
about to ask
Oh,
about
yeah,
different scenarios and how far back like you have enough data to like make
yeah.
a satisfying scenario.
Yeah, because I was also thinking when you're talking about ad buying, like how much that's changed over time.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
ads in the 60s were completely different than ads that are run today. So
There'll be a lot of television ads. for the
yeah.
60s. Yeah.
Yep.
And also each ad buy has a certain effectiveness. So like our TV ads, when you run a TV ad, you have a 1.2 score for effectiveness. And then when you run an internet ad as a 1 score,
Mhm.
when you run a radio ad, it's a 0.7, which radio is basically podcast at this point. And then if you run a print ad, it's a 0.4. And that multiplies the number of voters you could get or not get based on that ad.
Okay.
So there's effectiveness to ads, so that would obviously change in each scenario. I also would like to open this up to the Steam Workshop so that people can make their own campaigns, they can make their own scenarios, make their own
The
candidates.
George Washington mod.
Yes. So
Was he
I would like
elected?
to add that. But ideally, honestly, it doesn't even need like you can upload a workshop, but I want to have that all in the game to where you can just make a custom candidate because I think that will be really important. Or make your own scenarios and have access to the underlying statistics in each one. I think the hardest thing is going to be determining like what the base percentages are for each state because
Mhm.
you can make an argument either way on what the actual base score should be. So for example, like with Pennsylvania, I have it set right now. I don't think it's going to be at launch, but it's set right now to be 44% for each candidate at game start. Uh, the problem is that if you look at Pennsylvania's demographics, it leans Democratic, but it's very competitive. Like it can go either way based on like 10,000 voters. And so it's the challenge of the demographics represent a certain electorate, but at the same time, you have crossover all of the time. So like I don't want Pennsylvania to be blue all the time. I also don't want it to be red all the time. So it's like, how do you get that sort of mix? I think that ultimately depends on campaign activity, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to convince myself like it's okay for things to not look like they did at the end of election because that's the whole point of the game.
Right. You're changing things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a matter of finding like the realism balanced with being able to dictate what I'm doing based on campaign. Like if you run a really robust campaign and the random events go your way, which you'll be able to disable random events
Right.
if you would like to. There's also going to be a media spin system.
Ooh.
So
Whoa.
depending on your ads or your rallies or your issue speeches, the media will take that and depending on your media score, they will spin that in a certain direction. And so you'll actually get a bonus from that or a negative from that. And so there will be a bunch of other modifiers happening at the same time. And then there's also a favorability rating, which media spin directly affects. That is a little bit more static because it's based on your candidate's attributes, but it can change based on your media spin calculation. And so, for example, you could have a set of attributes, and this is like a whole equation. It's like add all sum of this times this divided by this. I don't even remember what it is at this point, but it creates a percentage, which is oddly accurate. I don't know how. And you might have a 52% favorability rating based on your attributes, but your media spin could easily make that 42%. And that affects your ability to get voters out.
Or 62%,
Yeah, exactly.
It could improve. Yeah.
Yeah, you could be JFK or you could be,
Yeah.
Donald Trump. Like it's one or the other. Like, and those are like that is the reality of elections. It's like not the popular candidate doesn't always win, and the popular candidate isn't always the one who emerges from the primary. So it's yeah. So it's one of those things where I'm just trying to like balance the realism with actual fun.
Yeah.
And fun is being able to change history, which is why I love paradox games so much.
Exactly.
I mean, I can really see people spending hours upon hours in this game, and like it just
Specifically in 2024.
right.
Actually, I could see a lot of people spending a lot of time in 2020 as well.
2020, 2024, even
Yeah.
2016. I did the math. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, the last 3 elections would be
huge.
there's large groups of people who want to relive those for for different reasons.
For different reasons, but
Yeah.
I do wonder, and this is more of a, I guess, philosophical question. I don't know, but do you ever see, like, in your visioning, when you're imagining this game at its peak, you know, you've designed, like, you're incredibly happy with the result, it's working perfectly, that actual campaigns might use this to try to predict their own results and test out different strategies?
I've already considered sending this to like the RNC and the DNC and saying like, hey, you know, I've predicted the last 3 of the 4 elections, which I usually pick the guy who was losing in the polling because you can just, you know, just the model worked. My model works. And I said, you know, and I plan on emailing them and saying like, this game is based on that. So like, if you want, if you want a good idea on what you're going to be up against, like this is a good simulation of that. I already plan on that. Okay. I think by the time the midterms come around next year, I will be able to start working on a congressional system to where you can sort of have a congressional election because I mean, when I look at the competitive landscape here, it's wide open, like wide open, because there's only a few games that actually do this well.
The only one I can think of, and I don't even know if it does it well because I've never played it, but like there's Democracy. I think it's called Democracy.
Yeah.
Or Democracy 2 is the most recent one.
4,
is that even close?
4.
Oh, it's up to 4 now. Okay.
Yeah. Democracy. So Democracy is like one of the first political games I ever played, but it doesn't do a good job at elections.
Okay.
Because you can make it to where you win each election with like 80% of the vote.
Oh,
and that's not
that's
not fun. Yeah, like that's not democracy. And then like your character will get like assassinated, even though he just won the election with like 85%.
Oh boy,
it's like it becomes like a Russian proxy at that point. Okay. It's like it's not even like real. Yeah. And the goal with this is to like I don't even want to get into sort of the actual politicking. I just want to make a really, really, really good election simulator that is super fun, super in-depth, and has the ability to be changed. So like you can edit the campaign, you can edit the candidates. And I just know like for me, I have 100 hours in, you know, some of the most mundane election simulators and stack that up over time and how many I've played. It's like 500 plus hours and running elections over and over and over again. Like I know there's a market for it, and the lack of competition in it is baffling to me. And so I feel like there's a huge opportunity if you can get this base right and do a congressional version and then do a British version and then all in the same game, by the way. I don't want to make like
it would be like DLC packs or whatever, like mod
I don't even
packs.
know if I want. I almost kind of want to keep it all the same, but I at some point I'm gonna have to make a business decision on that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that goes. But you know, I want this game to be $20. You know, something affordable. And you know, it's my first game, so let's it might take longer to get there. But I do think I have a great foundation.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what I'm doing, which helps a lot. I'm not having to do a ton of research because I know what I'm doing. And so that's really, really amplified the process here.
Yeah.
And it's been fun. It's been very, very fun. And it's gratifying because I never thought I could do it. And this year I just forced myself to sit down and learn how to do this. And after about 80 hours, I was like starting to like program things without even referencing like anything. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Because like I wrote a program, it worked off the bat. And I was like, I didn't even look up how to do this.
It's always a good feeling.
Yeah. And so it's been awesome. And like once I figure out this UI, I think I'll be closer to like at least getting screenshots so I can list it on Steam, because wish lists are going to be a huge part of this.
Right.
And so
wish lists are always like that's the number, like not number one, but like a lot of suggestions in the indie world are like, if you're
Get
not
it on the
launching with
wish
like
list.
2,000 wish lists, like you're not going to be successful.
It's similar to
like,
the book industry with like pre-orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every indie game that I see, basically, any post, someone's like, "Hey, wishlist my game." I'm like, "All right,
Sure.
all right, this helps you." Like this is one click from me that helps you
Right.
immeasurably.
Yeah.
But
So
awesome. I think honestly, what I took away a lot is just to, if you have a game in your head, you got to make that game. Like, learn how to make that game, because it's possible, and it's going to be probably the most fun to make and also the most successful.
oddly enough, too, I'll just add is that the engines that I've used to get to this point, because I've tried all of them. I went from Game Maker when I was younger to
we know Game
Unity,
Maker.
Yeah.
to Unity, to Godot, and then believe it or not, I settled on Unreal.
I can believe
and
that.
yeah, and I can't believe that, but it's where I'm at. And most people would say like, "Oh, you can't make this type of game in Unreal. The Unreal's for like Fortnite and like shooters."
They're wrong.
I gotta, yeah, they're not only are they wrong, I gotta say, I could not. I don't think I could have gotten to this point with Unity, because I've tried. I made a huge attempt at Unity about 3 years ago, and I just couldn't do it. Like, it didn't make sense to me. It was like really challenging to get through the UI and get things to work. And there's so many plugins. I didn't know what was what.
Oh yeah.
And then I get to Godot. I tried making this game in Godot at some point over the last couple of years.
If you struggled with Unity, Godot is just Unity with less support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was even more challenging. I couldn't even get the map to work.
Oh boy.
And then in Unreal, I sat down. I was like, I'm gonna do this. And I live in Raleigh, so like Epic's office is down the street. So I was like, heck, if I can learn Unreal, maybe I can maybe I can go hang out with them.
Nice.
and I sat down and I got the map to work like off the bat. And when I figured out that, I was like, I spent hours trying to figure this out in Unity and Godot, and I just did it in about an hour. I was like, this is where I gotta be.
Yeah.
And
It just clicks.
the blueprint system in Unreal is awesome. It's very open-ended. Like you can do anything with Unreal. And so there is a little bit of a learning curve, but I feel like it's gotten way better over the years. And so just for anyone listening, if you want to make that game, and you're struggling with learning the engine, I gotta say Unreal is at a point where I think it might be believe it or not, the easier one to get started with.
Yeah, I mean, that's great.
Bold
great to hear.
take.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
But great. Yeah. Thank you again so much for sharing your game in all this detail. And if people want to find you elsewhere, where can they find you?
That's a great question, because you can go with Bigger Pockets. I'm all over that website.
Yeah.
But no, you can find me on MatthewMyre.com, actually, which I have finally updated after 4 years
Great.
to reflect the fact that I'm working on this game.
Perfect.
And
Awesome.
so you can find me there. Eventually, I'm going to go live on Steam, and the game will be called The Electorate. So the best way to do this right now is to go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and then you will be notified when that is live.
Yep. And we'll make sure to notify all of our listeners as well.
Yes,
so we'll all
when that
wish
goes
list
out.
it. And maybe have you back on once it's live and tested.
Ooh,
Absolutely.
a little post-mortem.
Yeah, like how'd the launch go? How's it going? Yeah.
Yeah, it went terrible. It's a failure.
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah.
Is that what your model says?
Yeah. No, I'll be very excited. And once again, thank you guys. And this has been super fun. Hopefully next time I have a successful game, and we will go from there.
Wow, that was such a cool discussion with Matt Myre.
Yeah.
Well, now it's time for the rapid fire round. That's where we generate 3 random words. We have 5 minutes to come up with a game idea for those 3 words, including a gameplay loop and a name. Okay, I'm ready with the random words. Are you ready with the timer?
All right, I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1, go.
Perception, drawer, whisper.
Perception and whisper. Wait, drawer or drawer? Could we
Are they the
interpret that?
same? Aren't they spelled the same? Is drawer a word?
No, wait, drawer would have another R in it. That's DRAWER. I'm pretty sure drawer,
I don't think so.
as in a
I'm looking
bedroom
it up.
drawer.
It is it's a bedroom drawer.
Oh.
Yeah, a
Why
box.
did I think there was an extra R in that?
I don't know. Where would you put it?
After the W.
Drawer.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You're okay. Okay. You're wow. Okay.
These are all the results for drawer.
All right.
I don't think drawer is a word. I think it has to be drawer.
You don't think drawer is a word?
It's not coming up.
Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. Perception, whisper, drawer. Okay. There is a tiny pixie
Okay. Yep. I'm following.
whispering mischief to you
Ooh.
from a drawer.
Oh, nice. Very Tinkerbell vibes. I like this.
And you have to use intense 3-dimensional sound quality
Ooh.
with headset.
So you've
to
got like a stereo
find-
headset.
Yes.
I like this. I like adding an extra element of like not mechanical design. What am I? Is it?
Hardware? I don't know.
I guess, but yeah, like a sensory element, I guess.
Yeah. So that's the like you basically have to using like this 3-dimensional audio soundscape. You have to figure out exactly where the pixie has
Now,
hidden.
is it like dark where you're like hunting pixies to kill them, or is it like cute?
Well, what do you want it to be?
I don't know. Maybe a combo. Maybe the pixies have like answers to like a bigger secret in the world. And so you collect them all and then they'll like tell you together
Oh, okay.
the answer to,
All right.
to a riddle or something. I don't know. That's just the story part. I think I don't know. I think I like the so each level is like a harder soundscape.
Yeah, like they add more things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ventriloquist pixie that can throw its voice.
Now I will say this does kind of limit replayability a lot because once you find it with the sounds, you'll never need the sounds again.
That's why there's a multiplayer mode.
Oh, did you already say that?
No.
Oh, okay. Tell me
I'm
more
just
about
introducing
multiplayer.
that. No, I mean, one player plays as the pixies, and one player plays as the people.
It's an asynchronous game.
Yes, and in the multiplayer mode, because you just turn your mic off to stop the whispering, like your characters just generate a lot more sound than like the NPC pixies.
So I
general,
think,
so,
honestly, I think this should just be multiplayer because I think that's cooler. Because then you like the person playing Pixie gets to pick where to hide each time, so you could replay levels like constantly.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the whispering part then?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they have to talk. Maybe if they're not whispering, they like reveal themselves completely. And they lose.
If you don't whisper,
Yeah.
in every 30 seconds at least,
then it just like pops you up in the screen, and it's like, there you are.
Okay, all right. It just
I don't know. Do you hate
sure.
it? I'm sorry.
No, that's yeah.
Okay.
RTS games do that. They when you don't have a town center, they reveal all of your characters, all your units.
Yeah.
After a minute. Okay, what's it called? Whispers in the dark.
Sure. I mean, yeah. Whisper.
Pixie whispers.
Pixie whispers. Yes, that's the one. I like that.
58 seconds left.
Okay, ready for our next 3 words?
Yes.
Okay. Dealer. Sympathetic.
Oh, wait, sorry. I was just ready. 3, 2, 1, start. Okay.
You said yes, so I just went. I'm sorry.
Usually
okay.
you make me count down. You get mad when I don't count down. The countdown has this timer started, so let's get word in.
Okay. Dealer sympathetic syndrome.
Dealer.
I mean, dealer makes me think of gambling immediately, like
Okay.
blackjack.
Sympathetic. Syndrome.
Syndrome.
The guy from The Incredibles?
I mean, like a group of symptoms which consistently occur together.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Which actually I didn't know that was like I'd just think about it, but yeah, okay. Anyway.
This is hard because syndrome, sympathetic, dealer.
Sympathetic dealer, I can think like, you know how like the house always wins? Maybe
Yeah.
this dealer, the house never wins. Maybe this dealer is trying
And you have to not get caught?
I guess, but then syndrome's not in that at all.
You have a rare syndrome,
Uh-huh.
and you have to make money
But if you were the dealer making money, then you would want the house to win. So that doesn't work.
No, here's the scam, right?
Yeah.
You have to basically cheat to enable specific people to win. And you get your money by them tipping you. But you can't
or bribing you, I think would be more
No. You
okay.
don't identify the characters beforehand. Like as you're dealing this game, you have the options of like cheating for certain people, and you have to figure out
who's
who
like the richest and most
going
likely
to get
to tip.
the
who's most sympathetic.
Right. Who would be most likely to give you a part of the winnings if you
and it's
make
deceptive
them
because
win.
just like realize sometimes the most rich people will never tip you, so you have to get a nice
well,
middle
you are
ground.
making them rich.
Well, yeah, but like even then, like I think people who like have a ton of money won't mind. Like an extra $10,000 will mean nothing, and they won't. Like I don't even know if you're allowed to tip dealers. To be honest, that's why I'm like it feels more like a bribe situation. But
Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't know about I don't work in a casino. I don't go to casinos.
No,
I don't know
same.
nothing about
I've never
casinos.
been to a casino.
So I think I've been one. Oh, I went to the Turning Stone Buffet in New York.
Buffet.
I've heard it's good on holidays.
Great. Well, that's
little
our New York
advertisement.
recommendations.
We're sponsored. No, we're not
Oh my
sponsored.
God. If we were, that would be really
say that
funny.
we're
If we were
sponsored.
sponsored by that specific place.
Okay, so dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice, like cha-ching.
No, but do you see what it's doing there? Dealers making
Not
the
really.
choice. Dealers choosing.
Yeah.
Dealer.
I mean, no, like
person
yeah,
to win.
yeah, but yeah.
No, okay, it's not working for you.
I just want a little more. It's okay to have it. I just want to
Okay.
add a little extra. But I think it's fine. How much time do we have?
Like 2 minutes, minute and 30 seconds.
Okay. Dealers deal the hand you were dealt. Choosing a new path.
What?
Well, because they have a syndrome. It's a bad hand.
Yeah. Dealer's choice, bad hand.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, boom.
When you add a semicolon, here we are.
1 minute and 10
or
seconds
I guess it's
left.
a colon. I don't think it's I think it's a colon.
No, that's a colon. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start the timer in
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Operational, introduction, wash. Now, when I saw operational and wash, my first thought was laundry.
Oh, what was the second word?
Introduction. Okay, it's a business game.
Okay.
And you're running a laundromat.
Okay.
But it's a laundromat / networking. Like it's like a third space laundromat. Like it's got like Wi-Fi and like a little cafe. And
so you can like
introduce people,
upgrade the accommodations, get better Wi-Fi connection, have better computers.
But part of it is like you talk
to
the customers who come in, and then you figure out people who would be good to like combine. Like one person could be like, "Man, I love writing lyrics, but I can't play guitar." And the one person comes in and is like, "I love playing guitar, but I'm a terrible songwriter." And then you're like, "You guys have to meet," and then you put them in the cafe together, and then you get points.
Okay. Because
everyone's got to do laundry.
Okay, so it's like a matchmaking,
but not like
laundromat.
Dating. It's like a business matchmaking, like not like a dating
cafe.
Yeah, I like it. It's third space.
Is that the name?
I think the name should be everybody's got to do laundry.
Okay. Oh wait, hold on. Let's hold on. Let's nail down the gameplay loop. All right. So effectively, it is you have a service. Mm-hmm. People come in, give money, spend the money that you earn to pay for maintenance of service and upgrade service. Mm-hmm. And in addition, there's also a people talkie section of the game.
There's 2 phases. We love that.
And the people talkie section, you gain. What do you gain for doing this matchmaking? Do you get more money from that?
Yeah,
okay.
You get more customers because if you were going to a laundromat and you just kept meeting cool people, you would talk about it.
Okay.
So like you get more customers, which equals more money, and maybe you get you get vested in some of these like new businesses that form.
Okay. All right. And Okay. All right. So that's the gameplay loop.
Mm-hmm.
It business tycoon game, business
Yes,
simulator gameplay loop. All right. And so the name.
Clean laundry instead of dirty laundry.
Wow. Maybe laundry.
Laundromat-a-tat-tat. Laundromeat.
I feel like there's something going on there, but I'm not sure what it is. There's like the tip of an iceberg, but I don't know how deep that iceberg goes.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
I could see it. We only have 1 minute and 45 seconds to refine this.
So I have two. I have laundromeat and I have everybody's got to do laundry. And I'm gonna now it's on you because I came up with two names.
I think I like laundromeat.
Laundromeat, okay.
I think I like that.
We're gonna go with laundromeat.
Yeah. Boom. There we
Boom.
go.
That's 3 random word
With 1:20 on the clock. We're
3 rapid fire rounds.
Yeah.
Is what I was saying. Okay, well, I mean that's our show. You can follow us on twitch.tv/makethatgame if you want to get notified when we go live, in case we forget to say. And you can also email us, makethatgamepodcast@gmail.com, if you have game ideas you want us to share or theme ideas that you want, or if you want to be a guest on the show, because now we do that, and that's really fun. You can also find us makethatgame.com and subscribe to our newsletter there. And if you heard a game idea today that you think has to exist and you have to play it, the only way that will come true is if you get out there and make that game.